They're finally here. The tools finally arrived. Some guy sold me tools and they finally arrived. On the day of the delivery, I waited all morning until the courier called, and then I went outside and stared at the road, and I waited, and they finally arrived. I was so excited, but they're finally here, and I was so excited. I put the tools right in my shop and opened them up. You can see how happy I am. I ordered a cylindrical sander, a thickness planer, a dust collector, and a router table. And today I'm going to be making a stand for the thickness planer. So I'm gonna do a shop tour maybe next week or the week after that. I'm not quite sure yet. And I might even do some reviews for the tools separately. But in this video I will tell you what I think about the tools as I use them. For this project I used almost all of the new tools except for the cylindrical sander, because there were no curves to be sanded. When I started this project I already had everything for the dust collector set up, but man, was that expensive. The pipes weren't that expensive, about $50, but all the specialty pieces like the flexible hose, the blast gates, other specialty fittings were really expensive, about $250. So for the duct system I spent about 300 euros, but I don't regret a cent, I can tell you that much. So the first step of every project is cutting the wood. So the next step is jointing two faces of the board square and straight and flat, but I had a hard time with this. I think my jointer is out of parallel, but I got it good enough. And now to see how the thickness planer works. Man, this is just fine, but it cuts like butter. It has the spiral cutting head, and man, it sure does cut practically no tear out. The thickness planer was $1,000, but man, was it worth it. Now to cut the pieces to length. And I know I have my shirt on backwards, but hey, that's good luck. Now to cut the rabbet. Though it's a simple joint, but I'm gonna screw it together with screws, and for this it will be plenty. And now for the assembly. This was going to be the bottom shelf for the stand, but I didn't use it for 3 reasons. One, I didn't trust myself that I could cut precise enough joints with my table saw and my janky setup. Number 2, it didn't need it. And number 3, I didn't know what I was gonna put in it. Yeah, I only filmed this for the assembly, but the top shelf is smaller and it's pretty much the same thing. Just screwing it together. So the rabbits had some overlap, so now I get to test out the router table. And with this I encountered the problem. The bit kept getting loose when I was using it. And well, that's a pretty big problem, but what I found is that the wrench actually was slightly too big for the bottom part of the chuck. And all I did was hit it with a hammer to make it narrower, and now it holds a bit just fine. So I usually don't like sanding, but for this project it went surprisingly quickly. See, I drew on the wood with a pencil and moved up grit and sanded until the pencil disappears. And it hasn't failed me yet. I do this every time when I want to sand something really good. And I wanted to sand this good because I'm gonna be putting a €1,000 machine on it. And I finished it with linseed oil, and I didn't show you, but I attached the legs with 4 drywall screws each. So that's 16 drywall screws holding up a €1,000 machine. I mean, I'm not saying the $1,000 to flex on you, but I'm just saying that I put a lot of trust in those drywall screws. So this is how the stand turned out. And it holds the thickness planer really well. I put some leveling feet on the bottom so that it doesn't wobble, because the floor isn't perfect. And the dust collector also sucks the dust up really well. I know you didn't see it in this video, but maybe the next video or the week after that you'll see it. So make sure to tune in next week for the next video, where I either build a bed or do a shop tour or maybe something else. But make sure to like the video if you liked it, subscribe, and see you later, alligator. Bye bye, butterfly.